All right, it's now 6:30. We're going to go ahead and call to order the Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole special meeting for Thursday, November 29th. I need a roll call, please. Roll call, please.
Clark? Here. Hendrickson? Here. Millar? Here. Reed is not here yet. Tylen?
Here.
Tome?
Here.
Traxler?
Here. All right, next up, I would need, this meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Next thing I would need to do is have the agenda approved. Unless there's any discussion about that, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. First up, old business number 1, continued discussion on proposed 2019 city budget. In our packets today, Kim has provided us an update to our running list of changes and additions and subtractions to the budget. Kim, did you want to go ahead and do an overview here?
Sure. Since the last time we looked at the budget, what was included in the information at the public hearing included a contribution to the library for $2,400 to assist with the health insurance buyout changes. Since that date, with Councilman Traxler's help, we went through some of the street repairs and maintenance funds and found that we did have some funds that would be unused in 2018, and that was confirmed with both Jason Letha, Jenny Schultz, and Carolyn Fredericks from Public Works. And those dollars are now shown as being carried over into 2019's budget for use by the council.
Okay.
As it stands right now, just a real quick recap, we have a levy limit of $3,067,602.23, and we have proposed to levy $3,067,601.40. It is a 12-cent difference from last year's mill rate to this year's mill rate. However, with the lottery credit and the first dollar credits, it would indicate that the taxes on homes would be decreased slightly because of the additional aid we're going to receive.
Okay. And as far as those the unused street maintenance and repairs and maintenance funds, you're just going to carry that over into the general fund, or can we keep it in that line, or can we tell you now, oh, we want more money in like sidewalk repair?
It would be at your discretion how you'd like to use it in 19.
Okay. Does anybody have some thoughts on that? $11,484. I mean, I think it's not a surprise we have some sidewalk issues, and there's plenty of streets that need maintenance. So, I would like us to consider using, either keeping that in that fund and maybe taking a little bit and add it to our, our increased sidewalk repair fund. I think that would be good use of that money. Patrick.
Just a couple of thoughts just to throw out there as well. At some point we talked about some of the projects that we're looking at for next year's recycling center and other things too. Those are things that could be thrown in that realm as well. And I also want to just make you aware that there was a request from Cindy at the library too, to see if we could work through the budget to cover the health insurance buyout full amount which we had worked with the budget to cover up to $2,400, but they do need $3,600 to cover it fully. So that's something for discussion and consideration as well.
Okay. I mean, in my opinion, I would like to keep the funds in some type of infrastructure repair or maintenance, whether it's sidewalks or streets. I understand there's the buyout problem, or the amount that they need for or want for an additional $1,200, but as far as this particular money, I mean, I'm sure you could find the $1,200 elsewhere, somewhere. But I really don't want to deviate this from infrastructure. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, I would like to hear from others. Regan?
Yeah, I agree that it should stay within the infrastructure somehow. I like the idea of keeping it for additional street repairs or maintenance, although that won't go very far, that amount. And I think it might be better used for sidewalks, to be honest. We might get more out of that money in improving some of the sidewalks in town.
Thanks. What did we increase the sidewalk walk budget to?
We doubled it to
10?
10,000.
10,000? Okay. And $11,000 go a long way. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
I'd be in favor of keeping it with the sidewalks as well.
Is there a certain, so right now it's on the streets repairs and maintenance, is there a certain dollar amount you'd like to see added to sidewalks as opposed to street repairs and maintenance? Like siphon off some of that, or?
I just echo what Alder Hendrickson said. I mean, it's not going to go very far for streets, and if we could just lock it up with sidewalk repair, I think that would be more advantageous.
Okay. Anybody else? Jason?
Were both bike paths, were they both going to be fixed this year? Like the one behind the tennis courts, was that already figured in? We already budgeted for both of those.
Yeah,
Okay.
the one proposed for the Dick Street was shifted.
Shifted to,
Yeah, right.
after we take care of the ones we already have.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Is that the
was
second
covered.
bike path you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one behind the tennis courts.
Potential one, okay.
Yep, that wasn't brought up.
Okay, nope, that's good.
But yeah, good with sidewalk.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Kim?
Could I just throw something out there, kind of
Sure.
piggybacking on the bike path? I know the quote that we have for the tennis courts is a little over a year old, bike path by the tennis courts. My only concern is we all know that the prices don't stay the same. And I'm wondering if we should have some kind of a contingency or allowance that if that quote to do the tennis courts comes in higher than what we've got budgeted, which is $6,800, that we maybe be able to tap into some of this or for part of it. I mean, just as a consideration. Or we just get done what we can with the 6,800 if the quotes come in higher.
You know, I think I would be open to a small portion of it. I mean, if we just say $10,000 more for sidewalks, and maybe just save that $1,484 as a little bit of a contingency. I mean, to me, it's still a type of infrastructure. You know, it's a bike path, walking path, but I'd be open to it. But if it does come under, I would definitely want to make sure that that money goes back into sidewalks or streets. Anything else on this? All right. Mike, sorry.
When we looked at the overages, Kim, were there some projects that were in there that were part of the county projects? Is that accounted for in this budget? We pay into the county so much and then we get so much in return? Does that just come out of the line item for maintenance?
Yes.
Okay. And the total for maintenance is?
Next year is 75,000, but if we add a little.
But that 10 would come out of there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually a carryover from 18 to 19. So this is actually money that was unused in 2018 that is in that repair and maintenance line.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Did you have more, Kim?
Sorry. No, that's it. Thank you.
Patrick, do you have anything to add on the budget topics?
I don't think so. I think that hits upon the questions that we had. We can sharpen our pencils related to the library's request and see what we can do there. Here and there, I think we can find the money as you suggested.
Do you, I mean, there was that, I know there was some extra money in that one of the parks accounts that didn't get used. I don't know if maybe we could, I know there's, nah, that's not a good idea. Yeah, I don't know. We'll leave that up to you guys to try to locate. I mean, I don't want anything to change on the bottom line though, so I'd
Right.
like you to find it in a different spot.
I will.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts about the 2019 city budget? Okay. I think at this point we're still gonna just hold off on I think maybe the December 3rd we would take a vote on it.
December 4th.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. Sorry, December
Yep.
4th.
We'll have resolutions ready on the council agenda.
All right, and that's the last chance you have, right? That's the last drop dead day.
Pretty much, it's the second Monday in December is when we need to have a budget adopted by.
If something crazy came up, we would have the opportunity before the 10th. If we had it, we would have to have a special meeting or something, but we want to try to get this wrapped up right now, so.
Regardless if you knew that the tax dollars were what you wanted to appropriate, we could at least take care of that so that the budget, so that the tax bills could get out to people in a timely manner. And then if we had to go back and look at the detail, between the expense or revenue accounts, whatever it might be, that we'd want to look at, we always have time to work within that then.
Okay. All right. Unless there's anything else, we'll move on to item number 2.
One more budget question, Andy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will we be doing kind of a wholesale budget amendment for this year for things that we've had to deal with through the year? When will that happen?
I anticipate probably the first meeting in January.
Okay,
We'll do that.
thank you.
Anything else? All right. Moving on to number 2, discuss and consider the responses to reference checks for the audit firm finalists. Kim? That was you, or I'm sorry, Patrick.
Both
Sorry.
of us, I guess.
Whoever wants to
Sure.
take this one on.
As we discussed it ad hoc, out of the, was it 6 responses we received? 8. The ad hoc narrowed it down to 2 firms, Baker Tilly and Clifton Larson and Allen. And since that time, Kim and I called references, and the responses to that are in your packet. And a lot of good and favorable support for both firms with the communities that they serve. The question then I think becomes, you've got Clifton, Larson, and Allen, who's slightly lower in their bid, and you've got Baker Tilly, who's been with the city for a long time. The familiarity that I guess becomes the question: is that disparity worth the knowledge that Baker Tilly has brought over the years, or is there an interest just to get some fresh eyes? We kind of talked about that at the ad hoc, so I don't know if you have any thoughts, Kim. I think again the references came back positive for both firms.
I guess just looking at the references, I if trying to be as impartial as possible, which is pretty difficult because I'm the one that they're really working with when it comes to the audit. But I think if I were to look at this kind of objectively, the responses that we got for Baker Tilly there was nothing in Clifton, Larson, and Allen's responses to the reference checks and the questions that we had that really put them ahead, or I don't know how to say it best, that put them heads above Baker Tilly, so to speak. So I think it boils down to what you would be comfortable with.
Could you remind me the first, just the difference, just the first year on between the two? I don't have anything in the packet, so I know I've gotten it before, but I just don't have it with me tonight. I know.
I'm sorry, it's on the corner of my desk.
Okay. So, what kind of action are you looking for from council tonight on this?
If there's a consensus on one or the other firms, we would move to approve the agreement with that firm. If there's an interest in meeting personally with representatives from either firm, we would set that up as well.
Okay. And the staff provide an official recommendation. I heard Kim say she's, Baker Tilly seemed to, be what she was. I mean, I was getting the feeling that Baker Tilly would be her recommendation, but I'll let Kim answer that when she's ready. When would we start with? When would the contract renew, or if it was a new contract, when would that start?
It would be effective 2019.
For the 2018 audit.
Right, but the firms would probably start immediately as soon as we approve, because there's some preliminary work they'd need to get started on.
Okay, Baker Tilly is $38,450 for the city, the sewer, and the TIF audits. Clifton, Larson, and Allen was $36,480 for the city, sewer, and TIF audits.
Okay. And what do you have? What's on the budget line for next year? What did you pencil in?
I think I have all of this accounted for. I think I have $39,000 altogether. So it's a $1,970 difference between the two.
Maritone?
Are these all based on a one-year contract, or is it a multiple-year contract?
The way the RFP was written is that it's for a base 3 years with a possibility of extending an additional 2 years after the first 3-year period.
The same price every year, or is there an escalating price?
Both of these escalate each year.
Do you have a percent is there an average or?
It's about well, on the city audits, it looks like it's about an $800 change on both of them per year. The sewer audit, Baker Tilly is 200, Clifton Larson and Allen is 200. The TIF audits, basically they're the same changes going into 2019 and 20. For Clifton Larson, $120 per year. For Baker Tilly, it's $25 a year for the TIF audits.
So there's no significant jump from year one to the final year?
No. I mean, we're talking maybe either one of them, maybe $2,000 difference.
Just as a recap, since I wasn't at the ad hoc meeting, it seems like you must have called the references on just these two.
Correct.
So did you narrow it down to those two at that ad hoc meeting out of the 8?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
There was, based on, essentially staff recommendations, we got it down to about 4 based just off of that. And then we went through the final 4 and narrowed it down to 2. Kasha.
I guess just when I'm looking through the final 2 that are here, in my opinion, to the council, it looks like obviously one of them didn't return the audit calls from the Clifton, Larson, and Allen. And the thing I'm noticing, and these are both 2 cities of substantial size, Wauwatosa and Middleton, that their representative or auditor had they had a lot of turnover in their staff. So, and if that impacted both of these larger cities, what would it do to a smaller city? It's kind of what I'm worried about. That makes me concerned with this particular one, even though they're less expensive. The other ones seem to have some pretty decent references at the end of that, talking about even if they had newer people that they were really willing to learn, they were getting the difference between municipal versus private. So I guess if I had an opinion, mine would be with the Baker Tilly and Larson. So.
Thank you, Kasha. Regan?
Kim, to clarify, we've been with Baker Tilly, right?
Correct.
So with this type of audit, is there any impact if we were to go with a new firm? Is there an impact in both the professional time and then more importantly, really for me, staff time to reintroduce and educate a new auditor? So there'd be an investment in staff time to get someone new. Okay.
True, that's true.
And I echo what Kasha's recognizing, the geographic area and the size of the cities that provided references are, Baker Tilly has more comparable clients to us in this area than the references we checked for Clifton and Larson. So my concern would be that investment of staff time to help educate a new auditor. With all other things sounding pretty equal, price is pretty equal. The professionalism from the reference checks looks very comparable. To me, that would weigh in favor of Baker Tilly.
Thanks, Regan. Anyone else? Thoughts? Kim, do you have a recommendation from staff?
Because they are the ones that would be looking at my work that I do for the city from a financial standpoint. I'd kind of prefer not to give my personal opinion at all on this because I want their review to be impartial and.
Okay, Patrick?
I think all the points raised about Baker Tilly make sense. I think Regan made a good point about the staff time. They're able to be more. I would assume Baker Tilly would be able to be more efficient in their time, and the disparity and the cost I don't think is enough of a factor to switch. That would be my thinking.
Thank you, Trina.
I am still completely on the fence. It really just comes down to whether it would be beneficial to have new eyes looking over the documentation or to have the familiar service that is already aware of our needs. And I'm really not sure which way to go at this point.
All right. Appreciate that. Regan again?
So Trina, given that, would you find it helpful to have representatives attend a meeting so that we could talk to them directly?
That would be helpful.
All right, Tom?
Trina, pretty much said my concerns. I guess it's an auditing firm. I understand there's a comfort level when you have the same vendor for many years, but I think there's a benefit of having a new set of eyes, maybe just for 1 year. Baker Tilly's always going to be there. They're the biggest. They have the most clients. And everyone's applying the same filter. It's the GSB. So I wouldn't want to create any inconvenience for staff, but it really is the auditor's job to come in and get what they need, and every auditor should be asking for the exact same thing. There may be a personality difference between one vendor and the other, and I didn't see anything alarming in here that, there were no negative reviews, I guess, but I think there's a benefit to maybe having a fresh set of eyes on it as well. But I'd like to have some vendors come in and talk to them.
Okay. I definitely don't have consensus to move it forward for a vote at the next meeting, so it looks like we should bring some people in and
Do you have an idea of when? Sorry. Do you have an idea of when? Do you want to do a special meeting to have them just come in and spend a little time, or
think
committee of the whole, or?
When does the prelim have to start?
Usually it's the first week in December.
Yeah. That's the other issue.
So, I mean, it can be done, just as long as it's done prior to the regular field work is the critical thing.
well, the committee of the whole agenda looked light next week, so you could check their availability for that. I don't know if we need to do a special meeting.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
And we can go from there.
If we have the contract, is it on a calendar basis, year to year?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I believe there is a clause that we can terminate. The way we wrote the request for proposal was a 3-year with a 2-year add-on.
Okay.
So I suppose it would be however Paul put the contract together.
Okay. Because if we have a current contract with Baker Tilly, wouldn't they already, can it be ready to do the preliminary?
It
No.
expired with the 17 audit.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So Kim, see if they can come in Tuesday, put their best foot forward, and try to convince us to get some consensus and go from there. Anything else on this subject? Seeing none. All right. Next up, I have number 3, consider and discuss donation from Columbus Chamber of Commerce on a donation towards downtown holiday decorations for the 2018 holiday season. JD, is this when you wanted to talk now? I was going to get you in earlier, but it wasn't on my it wasn't at the top of my agenda to do so. So I just figured this would be the best time now. So go ahead and come up and speak.
Citizens of Columbus, Council, Honorable Mayor, Tom, and public employees of the city, we as community citizens of the Chamber feel an attractive Columbus is vital to everybody. So we had a big discussion at our last meeting. We'd like to provide a temporary solution to this year's holiday decorations to the city. We, the Chamber, would like to contribute $1,000 to buy wreaths from a local organization, the Kiwanis. This would provide adequate time to form a fundraising public-private partnership to purchase appropriate holiday decorations for the next year and in the future like before. Can we ask the city to have Department of Public Works or another agency affix those to the poles? That's really our request tonight.
All right. Water and light has to be involved with that, right? That's their pole?
Their pole, their bucket 2, I think the lift would be needed.
Has anybody spoken with water and light? And
Yeah, staff got together to consider this, and Water and Light was involved, and including the maintenance people, and feel that it could be something that could be done.
How would they be attaching it to the pole?
It was between Troy from DPW and Joe. They believe that the stems for the flag poles, that the wreath could be hung on top, and then using a metal clip, it could be affixed, and then the bottom of the wreath would be also tied around the bottom part of the wreath. So where you see the stems, I guess, I don't know how you call it, the receptacles for the flagpoles, that's where the wreath would be on the top and then coming around. The senior center has a 35-inch wreath, which is what is proposed here. And Troy and Joe went over and looked at that and then brought it out and kind of figured how they could do it, and they do believe that would work.
All right. So I'm going to ask this question. How did we get in this situation? In the 3 years I've been up here, we've never had to be involved in hanging lights or wreaths on a pole. So how did we get here?
For years, the on the old poles, Water and Light, Public Works worked to put the decorations on the poles. The decorations, I understand, were donated by the chamber. When the James Street was reconstructed, the poles are obviously different. And last year there wasn't any, the project was complete. There wasn't any decorations set yet. The thought was that this year we would spend the time to put the decorations on or figure out, working with the appropriate agencies to get decorations for the poles, and it did not happen. One hope was that the Downtown Beautification Task Force could be part of that, but there was not a recommendation. There wasn't anything produced there. So it's something, at least in my opinion, that we should try to address. And it was raised at a chamber meeting yesterday, and JD brought up the proposal that he has brought forward to you.
Trina.
Oh, just wanted to add, since I went to a recent beautification meeting, that they are looking at arms for possible poles, and they did find some, it was just over a little over $100 for an antique arm to attach to a pole in black. But it hasn't been finalized yet to forward it, but it won't be ready in time for this holiday season, but hopefully for next.
When was that meeting? Was that in October? Or?
No, it was about a
November?
week ago.
Oh.
2 weeks ago? 2 weeks
I
ago.
want to say 2 weeks ago.
Kasha?
I just have a couple of questions. I like the idea of the chamber being willing to do something like that for this year as a solution to a dilemma that we have right now. Just wanted to ask a couple of other questions going forward, though. When you were going backwards and you talked about the street repair and maintenance money, that you would potentially, out of that $11,484, take $10,000 and put towards sidewalks. There's $1,484 left. Do we have that designated for anything? And can we potentially put this towards helping the beautification committee with brackets or decorations for next year, or is that anything that we can consider?
Did we just say earlier that we were going to put that
Towards the bike path?
towards the bike
Yeah.
path? I mean, I have not seen any, we've not gotten anything from the beautification committee at this point, other than an update in like August maybe, or September. So, I mean, and they can certainly come here with any request. I just haven't seen anything. You don't have any costs? You don't have any?
donation was made to the beautification committee. They should be able to cover the arms and some decor, but nothing has been decided for exactly what's going to be planned to purchase. But there are some funds from a donation.
I mean, I don't see why there couldn't be a partnership, with the city and the chamber and the beautification committee to help improve the downtown's, look overall. So, Regan?
Yeah, on that point, I was just going to add, I think it makes perfect sense, to come forward with the idea. The committee should come forward with the idea and the pricing, and then ask the city for funds. And I'm sure anyone who's up here is going to want to find a way to pay for that. And that usually involves a conversation with Kim or Patrick about the options that we have at the time. I like the idea of trying to budget for it, but at this point I feel like we don't know, we could put a line item there, but we might be vastly underfunding or overfunding, and there are other uses for the money at the time. As far as this idea, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think partnering with Kiwanis on the wreaths is great. It helps, two local not-for-profit organizations with a problem that we're facing, from what I understand, from just basically a lack of foresight, which hopefully won't happen. It's always interesting to me, the topics that spark so much passion in town. And unfortunately, this one is one of those issues that shouldn't have happened. But I think we're all working together to figure out a way to solve it for this year, and then make sure that something's ready for next year. So I'd be in favor of not only obviously accepting the donation, which we kind of do as a matter of course, and have to do that just policy wise, but finding a way, and it sounds like Water and Light has already approved of a manner in which to do it, so we should move forward full steam ahead.
All right. Any other comments? Concerns, questions?
I agree with Reagan.
It's unfortunate that we got to this point. Like I said, I want to know why we're at this point, and Patrick's explanation, was helpful, but I don't think, I think we need to talk further about this. So, here, Tom.
There were no holiday decorations last year. I know that when there were meetings before the highway reconstruction about the new utility poles and the design, et cetera, there was a lot of discussion about trying to use local manufacturers for benches, bike racks, et cetera. And obviously the DOT doesn't give you as much funding as they used to for the CSS funds. So there was a discussion, but there was an acknowledgement at that time that the holiday lights that were on those old poles were not going to go on the new poles. So that was known. And I think that the history of the holiday lights has always been kind of a three-legged stool between chamber, local civic organizations, Water and Light utility, and then the city as well. So that just hasn't been done yet. It wasn't done last year, and I had hopes that maybe the beautification committee or somebody would have recommendations to bring to the council, because you have to figure out the funding or try to attract donations as well. So I think having some wreaths this year will be nice, as long as the Water and Light utility is prepared to help install them, because the city doesn't have a bucket truck and we don't own the poles. So.
All right. So it's as far as accepting this donation, this is just the committee of the whole. So don't we have to move it forward to the next regular meeting?
We should memorialize that. We'll put it on the regular meeting for Tuesday. But I think with the timing, if everyone's all right, we can full speed ahead.
I didn't see any dissent, so I'm fine.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next up, number 4, convene to close session pursuant to state statute 19.85, sub 1, sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data for any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and this is for employee wages. I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Pat, if you could please take the roll call.
Clark. Aye. Hendrickson. Aye. Millar.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Tylen.
Aye.
Tome. Traxler.
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right, I don't see any action coming out of any of the closed sessions tonight, so we will be going off the air. We'll be back on Tuesday night, 6:30, for the regular, on the 4th, for the regular meeting and the committee of the whole. So have a good night. Thank you.